as soon as I tweeted this morning that I was going to be interviewing Alan Rickman in person, I got lots of tweets from colleagues and friends and people just who follow me on Twitter saying, please can I come, please can I come, please can I come. You're a very popular man, Alan Rickman.
It's a bit small in this studio, I think.
It's tiny. Will you cope?
Squish.
Will you cope?
Yeah, come on in.
Actors. Too many people. I want to talk about A Little Chaos, your latest film in which you play King Louis XIV, and you directed the film as well.
I mostly directed it. Occasionally I pop into it as Louis XIV because somebody had to. And we figured out in the end that not only was it cheaper for the budget if I did.
Saves on a salary, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, and in a way he's a bit like a film director waiting for the movies to be invented.
It's a great little story. It involves a woman. We were talking just a moment about women in positions of leadership, but this was a woman landscape gardener. Tell me how the story came to you and why you were so keen to tell it.
Well, it's a complete invention, of course. You know, I mean, anybody who puts in print, this is completely implausible, you go, yes, that's the point. Sabine de Barra, that's played by Kate Winslet, could not possibly have existed because this is 17th century France and this is a woman with an actual job and having to earn a living to put food on her table. And so it's partly about that and partly about the fact that she's existing in a world where women are decorative objects only and an absolutely male-dominated world where Louis, as I discovered when we went to Versailles, wakes up alone in his bed. Whoever it was in his bed gets sent back to their room and alone in his bed except with the odd 40 to 60 blokes standing there watching him through the night. So it's a bizarre world to enter into. That's immediately fascinating, the fact that Alison Deegan, who wrote it, made something that's partly true and partly complete fantasy, and that at its essence, I think it's a very modern story about a relationship between a man and a woman.
Kate Winslet plays Sabine, the character, the gardener. You've spoken really glowingly about working with her. You were Colonel Brandon in Sense and Sensibility, weren't you, when she was in that? She was 19, I think, at the time, yeah. Tell me why you're such a fan of her as an actress. From a directing point of view.
Well, first of all, you know that if she's accepted it, it takes quite a long time to get her to accept something. She really kind of swims around a project. I knew that she'd be interested in the character because it's a strong, independent woman. That's immediately interesting to a woman in the business at her stage. There's a kind of parallel, in a way, with the court at Louis XIV. You know, there are many jobs offered to women to be merely decorative. This one isn't it. In fact, she spends most of the film covered in mud as she's building a garden at Versailles.
She's making something decorative, isn't she, rather than being something decorative?
She is, but what she does is that she shows up on the set somehow or other, both completely prepared. She's done all the homework. You know you're not going to have to explain anything. Of course, we talk, but so completely prepared on the one hand and completely open on the other.
And flexible to what comes.
Totally flexible, and also because you're watching somebody figure out who she is through the course of the film. All the shots that I have of her in the editing room where she's listening to somebody else are all usable because her listening is so active.
I read you made that comment about her amazing ability to listen, and as a radio presenter, I'm fascinated by the process of listening because it's a very easy thing to get wrong and to do badly. Just describe what she does, if you could. That
it's to do with not knowing what the other person is going to say, and by hearing it accurately, to let it affect what you say. I mean, I talk to young actors quite a lot because I'm involved with RADA, and I suppose you're asked, so what is acting? And I think you can boil it down to something called accurate listening. What it does, if you're properly listening to your fellow actors or the other characters, is there's a kind of invisible wire that gets created between two people, two characters, and so the space between them becomes interesting. It's not just, now it's my turn to say something.
Which is what it should be like in real life as well when you're having a conversation, isn't it? It's not just on stage or on screen that's the case.
Yeah, maybe they'll listen to that now. In the election.
Maybe I wanted to come on to the election with you if I could, because in a sense you've been a couple of times a kind of a political widow, haven't you? As your partner has she stood twice for election, is that right?
Well, she was a Labour Party councillor for 20 years, and she stood laughably in 1992, was it, for Kensington, which was, fairly predictably not going to go in that direction.
What do you make of the show so far, election show?
Definitely interesting, It's interesting to see so much screen time given to more than just the two parties, although, of course, in this country the choice is pretty clear.
Between the two main parties, yeah. I was hearing somebody at the weekend talk about the need for PR, for proportional representation, as a means of voting. If we're left with a hung parliament and left with a different choice of coalition, do you think that will push us towards PR? I'm not going to carry on talking about politics endlessly. I was just curious as to your thoughts on that.
And certainly not proportional representation. I think that's much too complicated a discussion in terms of boundaries and the way that political parties can reorganise them to their advantage. I think it's a big subject. And
as an actor and director, I suppose, do you watch some of these political performances, particularly in those more stagey debates, and see people's tactics? Are you able to see into people's tactics?
I see their mistakes.
Do you?
Yeah, it's that listening thing, and little giveaways.
Can you think of an example?
No, I'm certainly not going to say now, but
Go on.
I certainly am not going to. But, both of us spend quite a bit of time shouting at the television.
And we all do that, yeah. Hopefully not the radio, though. Hopefully not the radio.
No.
You're known for many things, stage, screen, TV, Harry Potter. A decade of your life, I suppose, taken up with Harry Potter. Professor.
Well, it was when you look at it, but actually it was 7 weeks of each year. So I was doing an awful lot of other things. Somehow or other, while I was doing Harry Potter, I was also directing in the theatre. I did a West End and then a Broadway run in between, popping back to the black coat and the black wig. So, a lot was going on.
You are my favourite Sheriff of Nottingham of all time. And actually, one of my favourite things I've seen you in was the TV drama from the Christopher Reid poem,
Song of Lunch.
Song of Lunch that you did with Emma Thompson.
That was special to us, yeah.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary idea to turn a poem into a TV drama, just a sort of essentially two-headed TV drama. It was with Emma Thompson, again, another actress you have a great bond with.
I do, yes. We've somehow survived each other 5 times in different lives.
She was quoted in one interview saying, "The only thing we haven't done is have children."
Yeah.
Oh, you hesitated. Alan Rickman's secrets coming out.
Well, I suppose we had children dramatically, as it were, in Love Actually, so we had a little family on that.
You were a bit of a meanie in Love Actually, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. I was just a bloke.
Oh, okay. Well, same thing in that instance. That's a very affecting scene when she cries quietly upstairs.
Well, that was a pretty mean Christmas present.
It was a pretty mean Christmas present. In Song of Lunch, for people who might not remember it, it's two former lovers meeting. Is it a decade, 15 years or so after they've...
15, I think. And she's become successful or married to a successful man, and let's say he hasn't.
Yeah. The character you play is a bit of a jaded writer or failed writer. Or,
editor, I think, which is probably equals faded, jaded writer.
The process of meeting people from your past, I mean, we've all done it either by accident or by design, is a fascinating thing to mine, isn't it? The human relationship that's over and then the possibility of it being rekindled. Is that something that you enjoyed delving into in that Song of Lunch?
You certainly had to lose any ego doing that. Ego's a useful thing as an actor, but you just got to know where to place it. And in that case, when you know that you're going to spend the whole thing drinking too much and then leave her alone in a restaurant and go up onto the roof with a load of pigeons flying around your head and basically collapse so that she has to get up and leave, then it's just a gentle reminder that you can never judge a character you're playing. You've just got to kind of hand yourself over to it and let other people make the judgments.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was a brilliant brave moment of television, actually. I know people say that about a lot of things, but to turn a poem into what that became, I thought was really lovely.
Well, it honours a great writer and also Greg Wise, whose idea, and he became the producer of it. Yeah, it was a terrific thing to do.
Just briefly, any more Texas videos in the pipeline? That surprised a few people, didn't it?
Well, we've done 2 now, and basically it's just you get your marching orders from Charlene Spiteri, so it
do
depends.
As you're told.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks very much. Great to meet you. Release date is the 17th.
It is,
film.
yeah.
A little chaos goes a long way.
Enjoy
Thank
it.
you very much. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
Alan Rickman, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2:00.
On FM, online, on your mobile and on digital radio. Leading Britain's conversation.